So this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Call, and you know that we're learning the SIFRA that's done. Here's the page, the references, and all of that. Let me just take a look here. We'll get started. So this is a makeup share, as I had to take my grandson to the airport very early in the morning, and as a result of that, it was on the road when my Chavrusa called. And so basically, I'm doing it again because I wasn't able to record it there. Now, what we got to is here, this is what I was trying to say. In the introduction, because it has this involved introduction, then he brings in other rabbis who really interpret this slightly different. In our case, the difference is because the girsa, that is the text that they're working with, is, according to who is explaining this, can be different. And so therefore, if he's going to go over some of the changes in the text, now, I had in my mind, as I was saying before, that when I prayed, I don't really care to pray, and I try to care, but, things happen during the day or whatever. I try to picture in my mind the very beginning of the revelation of what he calls the balance scale, which in the Zohar that we have been reading previously are the letters Yud, K, and Vav. Yud means the right side, which is Chachma. K is the left side, which is Bina, and the Vav is Das. And from there flows everything. But at the very incipience, he said before, at the top of the skull, in other words, the most penimistic place that can tickle our imaginations, there is a balance scale. And that balance scale later becomes manifest in lower worlds, in the letter Vav, which refers to Zeranpin. Now, like I said, let's go to number Gimel and let's get right into it and see what's playing over here. So he said, Begil's Derek Eretz, that's a sefer, and he said, Begillion is Zohar. So he says in this Gillion, there's over here in the notes, he explains that this is different kinds of switching the names around to different places, that the Gillion is Zohar is actually not, over there is not Derek Eretz, it's something else. Near the Garis Khan, that actually the language of Rabbi Shimon is this. And these two particular words, when we begin, we go through this, are going to be very important. Bakatbu de katbin b'tzriva de masculine. V'lo b'garas milas berucha. So the word berucha doesn't exist in the text that we have in this Derech Eretz. But the Zecha Bebir V'zel, this also explains like this. Bakatbu de katbin. And this means what? Pirish b'his datkus hadibuk. When the glue causes things to stick. Now, what exactly is the force of making things bound together? And he calls this is what we call b'tzrira, that is the binding, the masculine. Of this light, or this ruach, or what we're talking about, I'm not sure 100%, but it's bound to a balance scale. The balance scale, once again, right, left, and center, just like he's going to explain. Pirish, shel tzur ha-meshkalos, the binding of this balance scale. Nisyase the call, that through this, all of the universe and everything that we see is bound. Now the point is that we are living in a weather when we do good, then we tilt everything in the direction of good, and then there's a flow of bracha. But when we make mistakes, and we make mistakes all the time, we make mistakes for which we do not repent, because maybe we don't even know, or maybe we thought we were right. But on the other hand, that brings everything to the left, which is the side of din. So he said, there's something over there where they have this word mekatev, which exists over there. Shebirushu dibuk, there over the means of being glued, or some sticking power, binding power. So this binding of this balance scale. Heim shnei hayin. What is the two parts, the main two parts? They're the two hays of the name Yud K Vav K. V'ikach HaMishkal, then you look at it like this, and you say the main part of the balance scale, the Bishkal Shalim, is the letter Yud. Why? Because the Yud is what makes things balance. It's what causes everything to happen. Mishem Havaya, so it's the Yud of Havaya. V'ayim Bazar, the Rosh has some stuff on this. V'reish Parshas Kisisa. Ad Kan V'rei Bir HaDavarim V'ha'aros Kan. Now he has some arichos on this, and we went through this morning. And let me see if I can get this down a little bit closer. We can see this. And it says like this. For those of you who are interested, Efshe devar kavanaso kan kach. So let's try to explain what he's saying like this. The Hebrew hemshech of divrei chasifra ditzniut kan. Yavur sod osius yud k and vav. We mentioned that shel shem yud k vav k. Shoshorshim barosh erik anpin. Where is actually you find the beginning of this? This is very important because the whole world is saying like this. The whole world, because we're in this world, is all based on balance. And we know this from health issues. We understand this is like, you have the Zen and Buddhism are all based on the concept, they're not Judaism, they're based on the concept of balance. So balance is very, very important, and to health, if you're older like me. But the Zecha behiktim kan the shorsh yisod the b'shtalshelus kol ha'osius hu al yedei os yud shel shem havaya ki osius, as he explains like this in the letters. Let's see if we can find the rest of this. Of the shem havaya hein bebechinas mishkal. They are in fact the weight, the rest of the letters. What does it mean? The os yud he even the mishkal, because the yud, you have the letters k, vav, and k. So we know that the vav normally refers to das, and let's go on. The os yud he even the mishkal. The yud is actually the stone that causes everything to balance. B'shnei ahein the kapos hamishkalos. They are in fact the hands, or so to say, the cups that are weighed. Hanikra kan shur hamishkalos, which is called. He says that this is called the binding together of the weights, of the weighing. He said V'ozvav is actually the lashon of the Mishkan. In other words, it's the middle line, because you have a middle line, and you have two cups on the side, and then you balance between them. Ha'omer be'emsa, which is in the middle. V'ikar pulas ashakilo. So the main thing that happens when you're doing this measuring, Na'aseh b'koach even the Mishkal has got, all of it happens as a result of the letter Yud, shemekabalas bo, shokling bo, that they measure it, they weigh it. It's the weight of this Yud. Ki al yadu poilim hakapos v'haloshen the Mishkal, because it's only the Mishkal, the maskala, or the balance scale, could only work, or only works, when you have a stone, when you have something that has to be weighed. And that's the part that's the most important, because this is like a digestion process, but the process has to go in balance. So he says, over eitz pa'ulas hashkila, when you're actually doing the balancing, nimsa shemiskashrim b'mizdavkim hakafos v'haloshin. It comes like this, that the two sides, that is the two cups of the balance scale, or the pans, or however the balance scales are, and they're really all hanging on a middle line. And that middle line is called the tongue. El hakoech hapoel shuhu even the mishkal, and they become like the balance that is waiting for the power that is going to come from this stone. Shuhu sod os yud, which is the secret of the yud. Now just imagine that the yud is what causes everything to come into balance. V'zechu she'omer kan b'katfui dekatbin b'tzriva demaskal, and this is his the way he understands it. Kolomer his dafkus hadibuk shal tzruach hamishkalos, when you are causing to cling together, the binding or the clinging, shal tzruach hamishkalos, of the binder of the weights, the shorshim, to their root, which is once again that letter Yud. So you have three parts here. You have a Hey, one side on the right side, you have a Hey on the left side, and you have a Vav in the middle. That's actually the balance scale. But the balance scale doesn't weigh anything unless you bring the Yud on top of it, because that's what causes everything to be balanced. The highly hiskashrus osius K Vav K, of the name Yud K Vav K. The makom ba'os Yud, the makorim, to their root. The whole thing presents itself because of this Yud. Az nisyached the yisyase the kol, now everything becomes found in the right way. Besod osius Yaakov de loholon, as we're going to learn more about these letters Yud, K, and Vav later on. B'nishtalshul osius me'erik anpin, and then they developed out the letters. All of this then, the letters come out from Erik Anpin. It's Yashvin Bezer Anpen, and then become settled in Zer Anpen, and that is where they're at. So that's the idea here. Now, just to condense this idea, he says like this. In order to process the Shefa, the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu that is contained in the Yud, in order to bring it down to a level that we theoretically could digest it, we should be zeicha to be able to receive the Shefa of that Yud. It has to go for the very, very incipients, at the very top of, well, it's like a light that appears at the very beginning of where it appears. It has to go through that shefa from this yud into a balance scale. And from there, everything else proceeds. Now that's that idea over here in this Sefer Bogosa Derech Eretz, Begilyon Zohar, which is found in the Zohar. Now, let's see a little bit more, and let me bring this back up a little bit so we can find our way around. I get lost. Number Dalet. He said, Rabbi Hadras Melech, and I think this is as far as I went this morning. I read this, and I didn't get into it any more deeply. So he said, Rabbi Hadras Melech, the Garis Khan, that he reads like this, Bekatfu de Katfi. What does that mean? This is the Girsa that he has. Bekatfu de Katfi, Betsriva Berucha de masculine, bound up together with this Rucha, the masculine, that comes out of the balance scale that we talked about. What it's talking about here is the shining of the 10 Tikunim of the Gegolta, that is the Gegolta of Eric Anpin, which shines into the Muchas Timor, the Eric Anpin. Now, Muchas Timor and the Eric Mund is the place of the Chochmah of Eric Anpin, and it is called the Muchas Timor because it's closed. In other words, nothing comes in, nothing comes out, except that a certain ruach can come into it, and certain ruach can come out. So let's see what he means. V'nimshachen is their anpin, and that whatever goes into the mochas timah ultimately is refined at that place and winds up going into zer anpin, derek abba v'ima. But first it goes to abba v'ima. V'zehu she'amar kan. This is what it says here. Ha'aras zayin tikuni gegolta. So the light, the shining, the radiance of the 7 tikunim of the gegolta, the Eric Anpin, hanikra bakatvoy de katvin. It's called the katvoy de katvin. What is this? And once again, is the skull, or the very highest level of Eric Anpin, is called the katvoy de katvin. And he pirusha kesher called a kasharim. There is a binding force, which is the binding of all of the bindings. Behind the ha'aras Eric Anpin, that is the light itself, or the radiance of Eric Anpin. And then he said b'tzrira, and then it's bound together. Pirush sha'ara zutzrura, it is bound up. V'genuza b'muchas timor, and hidden inside of the muchas timor. Barucha, and into a rucha. What is a rucha? Pirush b'nimshachin is zer anpin and nikra ruach, because we know in other places that zer anpin is called ruach, malchus called nefesh, and say for example, and bina is called neshama. So we have the word Naran, that's Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh. That Naran, which goes into Zer Anpin, is the Zer Anpin part is the Ruach. The masculine, Pirush, Derek, Abba Ve'ima, the masculine, he says, now here's a new idea, he says the masculine are really Abba Ve'ima, because in Abba Ve'ima, maskula, they are called the balance. Bebechinat Zachar V'Nog. Because they're the concept of male and female. Male and female are two opposites. It's like the two pans or cups, what they call hands or cups of the balance scale. One is on the right, one's on the left. Rabbi's on the right, Eva's on the left. So Rabbi Hadras Melech Sham, V'zel Shona. This is what the Hadras Melech says. Bakitvoy or Bakatvoy de Katvin, Pirush, the Meshech Shira, over the period as the binding is going on, Srur Barucha, the masculine. Yedua ki zer anpin bechinas ruach. So we just said that before. Zer anpin is the concept of ruach, and ruach has lots and lots of different meanings. Ki Malchus is Nefesh and Bina is Neshama. I think I said that earlier. So he says, the masculine, the word masculine, Heim Abba Ve'ima. So you have this Ruach that's going into the masculine, Ve'ima, which are Abba Ve'ima, so it's Abba Ve'ima. Ki Zohar V'Nekeba Heim Maskal. So it's the concept of a balance is you and your wife or you and your husband. That's the concept of a balance. Now, are they alike? No, they're not. They're balanced. And what actually balances them? When our marriage is working good, and in the world that we live in, it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad, and to keep going, keep working on it. So when you have these opposites, that's the balance. But you need something in the middle in order to be able to make it work. V'haras atik, that is, it means Eric Anpin. The radiance or glow that comes from Eric Anpin. Shu Kesher Shel Kashar, called a Kasharm. It is the ultimate force of binding opposites together. So this is really the basic concept in Kabbalah. This is that the real purpose of Kabbalah, of learning Kabbalah, is to find the ways to make unities, to make Kesher called a Kasharm. And where does this come from? It comes from Eric Anpin, who has within whatever Eric Anpin could be understood as the ability to be able to bind things together, the opposites, like the Mishkalos. Makor ha'arasa, so the fountain or the root of its light, who b'chochma stimor, that comes out of the chochma of Eric Anpin, Shalom. And let's get a little bit more. Asher sham sur v'ganus ha'aras zayin the gekoltos, because in that moch, the chochma, which is the mocha it's called by the name of mochas timah, which means the closed moach. He says that this place is the ultimate place where this is hidden and where it goes to. That is what? The light of the 7 tikkunim of the Gegolta. V'aras zu ha'nishbaz barucha. This ha'ara then flows, it streams into this rucha. What's the rucha? Once again, it's Zeir Anpin. The masculine shehem abba ve'ima shebechem hu zer ha'ruach, because from them is where the ruach gets all of its energy. Ki kulam b'chochma chaganus ba'abba, because all of them in their wisdom, that's not what it means. He says kulam b'chochma, all of them, what we said previously, is that the stone is the yud, is chochma. So he says, Kulam b'chochma gonus ba'abba, because in chochma all of it is hidden into Abba. So it's inside of Abba, hidden inside of there. And then Abba takes of it, nosen the ima derek yisod, and through his yisod is a yichud with ima, bezivug ima, bezecha besod kulam b'chochma, all of them are chochma, v'chasisa b'bina, that they all are incorporated, that all of the germ of the seed is found in Chochmah, but then v'chasisa, but it comes actually into a form where it's digested in Ima and manufactured in such a way that this seed is now moved into a different state. V'yedei Abba ve'ima bolo. So through Abba ve'ima all of this comes, the Zeir Anpin, ha'aras, and what is that comes as Zeir Anpin? The ha'aras of the Zion, the Gegolta of the 7 tikkunim of the Gegolta of Eric Anpin, Ad Kan Ba'ayin Sham. And there's more to be picked up on the next shir in this subject. This is Baruch Fleischman. You have been listening to the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.